Shabbat Shalom, everybody. We are today, very exciting, beginning a new book of the Torah. We're reading this week the book of Numbers, the book of Bamidbar, and it's one of it. You know, is it my favorite book of the Torah? They're all my favorite books of the Torah, but this is it's a unique. It's a dark and savage book, some of the best storytelling in the Torah, but it begins, it's sort of hiding all of its drama. It begins with this very mundane event, the census, which is important, as Rabbi Pan said, crucially important, but is kind of hard to read through. And then there's more details and more details. The next thing that happens after the census is a flag ceremony. A flag ceremony, essentially, where they all receive their position around the center of the camp, which is the Mishkan, the tabernacle, and we hear about where all of the tribes camped around the tabernacle, and we hear that the Israelites camp each with his standard under the banners of their ancestral house. Ish al diglo ba'otot levet avotam. They all camped under a particular flag. Each tribe had a unique flag that they camped under. There is some very vivid and beautiful descriptions of those flags in Bamidbar Rabbah. Bamidbar Rabbah is a later collection of Midrash, on the book of Numbers, and a lot of it is taken from other places, but this comes from the first chapters of Bamidbar Rabbah, which are the best chapters. They're totally unlike anything else in the book. And there's in those first chapters this incredible description of all of the flags of Israel, and they give us a color for every tribe and a symbol for every tribe. So Reuven's flag was red, and Shimon's flag was green, and Yehuda's flag had a lion on it, and Zvulun's flag had a sfina, a ship on it. Naphtali's is my favorite. Naphtali's flag is Domela Yain Salul. It's red, like a wine red with a deer in the middle. Just a cool flag. I like that one. You could and by the way, the last flag, Benjamin's flag, has the colors L'chol Hatzba'im, has all the colors of all the tribes together. Benjamin has a rainbow flag. Interesting. Okay, but we'll get back to that. I have been thinking about flags and signs and symbols and icons this week, what we might call semiotics, the power of signs and symbols to communicate messages. I've been thinking about them a lot this week because, as many of you know, we sent out an email to the community because last week we found a swastika, a couple of swastikas scratched onto the front of our building at Ikar, our office building. Talk about a symbol, right? Talk about a sign and its power to communicate. I mean, let me just start by saying it's an appropriated symbol. Like everything else, the Nazis stole it. It is a symbol which exists long before the Nazis came around, but now that it has been appropriated, it is you just see it and you feel terror just to see it, and pain and anger. I mean, I'm one of those people. There are lots of us here who have entire sections of my family tree just gone, just wiped out because of the folks who flew this symbol on their flag. Now, I have to say, part of me wants to just dismiss this. I mean, I was like, people can be nasty, and our offices are in a business area. A lot of people wandering around there are not well. They're unwell people, and this is just nastiness and just the kind of stuff you see scrawled on bathroom walls. And I just want to just dismiss it's just a distraction, But it is connected to something bigger. I mean, something bigger that's happening not just in history, but right now in this country. right? We forget so quickly, but just before the pandemic took over everything, there was a spate of anti-Semitic attacks in this country and in this city, and I think about that march in Charlottesville, right, where those proud white men said that Jews will not replace us. Jews will not replace us, right? There's a through line between that march and the swastika that everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. The swastika used to fly on a flag, and some people would like it to again. Could it? How do we think about that? So I found some wisdom again in this section of Bamidbar Rabbah, the section that describes all of these glorious, majestic, beautiful flags. After the descriptions, the Midrash says this: B'shasha amar Kadosh Baruch Hu leMoshe, aseh otam dgalim, k'moshe nitavu. When the Holy One said to Moses, make these flags like they want. They want these flags. They want to display the history and the colors of their tribe. People want that. And so make these flags for them. When God said that to Moses, Hitchil Moshe Meitzar. Moshe began to feel distress. Amar Achshav, Atida hamachloket linaten ben hashvatim. Now that you give them these flags, there's going to be conflict between the tribes. Now that they have flags, there's going to be conflict and maybe violence between the tribes. Fights over land and position, right? But also I think Moshe has a keen intuition. Moshe, who grew up in Pharaoh's palace, Moshe has a keen intuition about the perils of nationalistic fervor that a flag can generate. I remember that Nazism was, among other things, a nationalistic movement. That's Nazi, not nazionale, right? But it is a certain kind of nationalism, a certain breed of nationalism that says this nation is the only nation. Our tribe is the only tribe. When the swastika flew on a flag, it wasn't just about national pride. It was a message saying this nation is coming for you. And flag waving has often been a prelude to violence. So Moshe is nervous, and we should be nervous because symbols matter, signs matter. And Moshe Meitzar, he's distressed because if violence erupts, he's the one that's going to have to deal with it. So what is God's response? Amar lo Kadosh Baruch Hu. Moshe, God says to Moshe, Ma ichpat lach. Don't worry about this. Ma ichpat lach. Don't worry about this. Ein tzrichim lach. They don't need you to solve their conflicts. They won't need you. Why? Because they have, and the language here is kind of like a diagram, deateke. They have a diagram from Jacob because Jacob warned them about this and told everyone exactly where they were supposed to be. They have tachsis, they have a traditional ordering system that let them know that they only have so much space and they have to respect everybody's space. So Jacob foresaw this and warned them about this. But then the Midrash says, Ukmoshe ta'anu oto, and just like they carried Jacob, Hekifu et mitatu. They picked up his casket. Kach hekifu et hamishkan. Just like they surrounded his casket, so will they surround the Mishkan. So will they order themselves around the Mishkan. The Midrash says these flags will not cause conflict. These flags are there to remind them of where they come from. And they've received a warning on how to live together. But also, they are remembering that they were all there. They were all there throughout all of this history. And through the suffering, they were all there. And they remember looking at each other around this casket. And they know that they all belong there. So these flags, these 12 flags, represent a unity built up of many parts. There are flags like that. The US flag is kind of like that. right? There are the 13 stripes and the 50 stars that are meant to represent many pieces coming together. E pluribus unum. What other flag is like that? The pride flag, right? We're celebrating this month. We are celebrating a people who rose up and said, we're here. We've always been here. We're proud of who we are, and we're not going away. There's a lot to learn from that movement. It's interesting, the history of the pride flag, the rainbow flag. The major symbol of the gay rights movement in the 60s had been the pink triangle, another Nazi symbol, right? But reclaimed, and there's a power to reclaiming. But Harvey Milk encouraged an artist who came up with this flag, encouraged him to design a new symbol because he wanted to shake off that association. And so was born the rainbow flag, and that too is a flag of inclusion, right? That all colors are in, all colors of the rainbow. It looks a lot like the flags of the 12 tribes of Israel, right? It's a movement of inclusion. And yet, right, some worry that Jews are going to replace us, and some worry these anti-gay laws are presuming that they're trying to take over. The gay agenda is marching across the country, trying to force the gay lifestyle on the rest of the country. That fear is predicated on a certain kind of ideology. That ideology presumes that there are only two options. Either we exist or you exist, right? There are two kinds of flags. There is the flag of domination and conquest. And that flag is representing a weak kind of pride, a kind of national pride that can only exist if nothing else exists. But there is also a different kind of flag, the flag of inclusion. It's still a manifestation of pride, but a pride that says, I am proud of myself and I can be here and you can be here as well. The first kind of flag is terrifying, right? It's almost like a pirate flag, a flag of terror, a flag of death that says, we're coming for you. It's terrifying. It's certainly terrifying, but it is also absurd. It is also delusional. Because there will always be diversity. There will always be many kinds of people. Even when there is one people, there are still 12 tribes. There are still 12 colors and 12 orientations and on and on and on. We're all here. We've always been here and we're not going away. And we're not looking to replace anyone, for God's sake. That's not our ideology. There were 12 flags of Israel, not one. There were 12 flags of Israel. Think about that. So we're not looking to replace, but we're not going anywhere because we're proud of who we are, as everyone should be, as everyone can be at the same time without anyone else having to hide or cower in fear. So today, we are not afraid. Today, we are proud. So happy Pride and Shabbat Shalom.